Hello everyone, welcome to the Scarecrow and Raven picture. Today you're going to need your markers and a little bit of pastel and a pencil to start. I usually always, I don't know if I've ever talked about this, but I usually always have dull pencils in my classroom, and part of that is I forget to sharpen them, but also part of that is when you have a really sharp pencil, you press really hard, and when you're drawing, there's times when you need to erase. So I really like to use a dull pencil because the pencil is not what we're going for in this picture or in these projects. It's more so the coloring and the pastels and the paint and everything else afterwards. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is not use a super sharp pencil because you want to be able to cover these lines up after and not worry about too many erase marks. Okay. So to begin off, what we're going to do is we're going to start in the corner, and you're going to want to it's going to be a slightly curved line. I'm going to start about down here because I want room for my hat, for my scarecrow and his body. And then on this side, we'll have a little raven on his arm. So draw a line across like this. Maybe come over a little bit more here. We want to save some room on this side. So once I have my line, I'm going to bring it up for the top of his hat. Now when you're drawing, it might kind of fall off the page, and don't worry about that. That just gives it a little extra character. These are all going to turn out a bit different depending on your spacing. And I don't know what's in the corner of my paper here. I think I had some paint on the table. So we've got our little half circle, and then I'm gonna come down and like this. This is gonna be his floppy hat. So I'm gonna come up, and I'm just gonna make some lines across. So he's got a nice floppy hat, and then his head is going to come down and back up. And so scarecrows, I'm actually going to make my hat a little bigger on top because I made my face a little bigger. I'm gonna even that out a bit. Scarecrows are handmade by the farmer or the farmer's wife to scare the ravens away. But in our picture, they have kind of become friends. So I am now going to add the straw hair because a lot of scarecrows have their hair made out of hay or straw, and you can just make it go kind of crazy every which way, however you want. Just little pieces of hay sticking out all over the place. Got a messy kind of hair. And then we're going to do a triangle nose like this. We're going to put stitches in it because they've stitched this guy. So they stitch on his nose and they put on his eyes. And he's supposed to be scary, but our scarecrow is cute. He's got a smile. Maybe that's why the 2 circles on the end, maybe that's why the raven became friends with him. And then we stitch his mouth. Now for his body, they are usually, there's like a pole coming down holding them up and a pole across. So his arms would be coming out to the side on both sides. Now for this picture, we won't see the end of his arm here, but we will see it on this side. So we'll come down a bit more, and then back in. And then we're gonna do the same here. So we've got his 2 arms coming out, and then we're gonna come straight down. And I'm gonna show you how to put some overalls on him. So down here, we're just going to kind of come in just a touch. Those are his pants. And you could even, maybe a bit more, let's do it a bit darker so you can see that. And then his legs, you could put like a little triangle here to show. Actually, you know what? Let's just go all the way across. This is actually better. Okay, so go all the way across, and then he's got his legs. And then we're gonna put his overall is gonna come so that it comes down like this, so that we have a little bit of shirt showing on each side. And then we'll come down, over, and back up. We can put 2 buttons here. And we're going to put a big patch, because if this was in the old days or even the new days, they're not going to put their brand new pair of overalls on their Scarecrow. They're going to get their old ones that maybe have a patch on it. We could put a little patch down here. I'm going to make mine coming kind of falling off the page. You can imagine that it's there. Maybe another little one right here. These are just an old pair of pants. Put some little pockets on. And then over here, actually I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger. I'm gonna put his, make sure you can see that. He's got straw sticking out. For his hand. And I wanna make him a plaid shirt, so I'm gonna make some stripes. So what I'll do is I'll come like this, just some long stripes. And then I'll do the same, I'm gonna kind of join them, but skipping over my overall. And come like this. Don't have to be perfectly straight, because if they're not, it's just the shirt is all moving in the wind. Makes it kind of off center. So I'm just kind of, don't have to be super careful with this. Just giving him some, it's kind of like a pattern, I guess. And then I'll probably do one coming down here just because. Okay, there we go. So he's got his plaid shirt. He's got his overalls, and then right here we want to make his little raven friend. Now, this raven is going to be sitting looking at us. So right up here, I'm going to draw like almost like a teardrop, and that's going to be the raven's nose. And then I'm going to come around like this. And do 2 eyes, so 2 circles, and then do his eyes in the middle. He's gonna have a little tuft of hair, because ravens are kind of crazy, I think. His 2 wings coming down. And then right here, I'm gonna go like this. These are just long ovals that meet. If I do it a little, let me do it a little bigger. Let me just get another piece of paper here. So the feet come like this, but you just do it smaller. And so it's like he's sitting, and then you can join his body. So he's just kind of perched there. I mean, who could be scared of this guy, right? And then I want to put the moon in the background. Maybe come up like this, like there's a big moon in the background. Mine could actually come up a little more like that. Okay, so you are going to now take your markers, and I'm going to take my black because I love to outline everything in black. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to go around all of my pencil mark. I'm going to go around and into his eyes. Go around his feet. And then I'm going to do the hat. And don't worry if you don't get totally on your pencil mark, just leave it, because you can erase this, right? But you can erase the pencil, and sometimes what ends up happening is when you color it, you can't even see that you didn't go over it. So we don't need to be too picky on ourselves. Color his eyes in all the way because they're dark eyes. I'm gonna go around my nose and get those stitch marks in there. And his mouth. And remember, if I'm going too fast, you can always pause me. The nice thing about these videos is that you can start and then maybe you want to take a little break. And I'm going to come across like this. And this picture, I love it so much because it shows how simple lines can create a detailed picture. So if you're just learning how to draw or think that you can't draw, I want to show you that you can. Just need to break it down into simple lines and then wait for it all to come together. And then we'll go like that. Like that. Okay. Oh, and then I've got my hay hand. Like that. And then I'm going to just do, I'm not going to worry about being super careful here. I'm just kind of, like usually I would go all the way down, but for this, I'm just kind of going like this. I just want to give the illusion of plaid or striped checkered shirt. And then I'm just coming across. Because sometimes this can cause anxiety in some artists trying to make sure they've made it perfect. But as you can see, this doesn't need to be. All right, so now I'm going to color this. And I'm going to use my markers to color for most of it. And then I'm going to take my pastels and use them for a little bit. So one thing that I wanted to show you, because crayons would actually be really good for this too, because then you could just color everything and it would still pop out with the black outline. So one thing I want to do in pastel, actually let's color the beak first. So I'm going to color my raven beak in, because I want this to be marker. It's a little bit of a finer area, and as you can see, the black is blending with the yellow, and I like that. I think it gives it so much character. And I'm going to color in his feet. And then I'm going to take my black pastel, because I've outlined black, and then if I color it in with marker, it'll look really cute that way too. But if you have crayons or pastels at home, you can go a little bit lighter and you can just shade around, and then you can still see all of the detail that you put in with your drawing. It won't be covered up. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go around and color right around here. There we go. There. And that's so, so cute. I think he looks really good. And then even with the variation and a little bit of white showing, it's kind of like his feathers. Okay, so now I'm going to color in his hay. So take my yellow again and go all throughout here and color in. And remember, I like it when that blends in. I'm gonna do that the same one here. There you go. Okay. And then I'm gonna use orange for his floppy hat. You could use like a brown or, you know, his hat could be anything you want. Like when the Scarecrow's out there, the farmers want the ravens to see it because they want it to, they want to protect their corn. So they want the Scarecrow to pop out. And we want our Scarecrow to pop out. That's why we outlined him all in black and really highlighted all your drawing marks. So I'm just gonna get all the way in here. Like this. I'm gonna do the top part here. And just like pastel, you'll see that your black outline smudges, giving it that really almost textured look. Okay, so I've got his hat all colored in. Get all these little white spots covered. All right, now let's move on to his face. So I'm gonna give him, this is the fun part. You get to go and kind of decide what colors you wanna use. Remember, you don't have to use the same colors as me. I'm gonna give him some cheeks. And then I'm going to color in his nose. And I'm just imagining what kind of materials the farmer had to put this together. They're gonna use all their old stuff. So they've got old pieces of fabric from other clothes that they've made, and that's what they'll use for their little patches. Get maybe a green patch on there. And all these little flashes of color is what will also make the ravens notice them and maybe be like, oh, we don't want to go over there. We better stay away from that corn. Of course, this raven really likes this Scarecrow because he's so cute. How could he not? And put his denim overalls on. I can just color right over top of some of this. You don't want to color over top of, like the black's okay because it'll stay, but if you color over top of your patches, then you'll cover up what you already colored, and you want to keep it really crisp. So I'm going to come around here and up here. And around and down here. Come all the way across. Ooh, I love that. He's looking really, really good. Okay, So I'm come around like this. We almost got his pants on. Pants colored in. Here we go. And then we can do whatever we want for his shirt. So you could do some patterns. You could make it all one color. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a bit of a pattern, a bit of a plaid pattern. So I'm going to start on one end and just color in every second one. And then when I go to the next line, I'm going to make sure that the one above it is white. And then same thing when I do the next row, so that there's a pattern coming down as well. And then I'm going to kind of do that down here, not worrying about it being too perfect. And then I'm just going to start this one where I think it would be. Come in here and do my little pattern. And then even if you don't want to add another color, you could leave it white depending on if you're sort of tired of coloring. But you can always come back to it too. Oops. Don't worry if you do that. It's Mervyn got a little ahead of herself. You gotta be a little careful, but that's okay. I like to show you when I make little mistakes like that because I don't want you to be discouraged if you do. Okay, there we go. So I am going to add another color. I'm going to actually put a light blue in between his little plaid shirt. Get in there. Make sure I get in all the white spots. It's looking really cute. Just love this little scarecrow. I don't know how anyone could be scared of him. I wouldn't be very good, I guess, at making scarecrows and protecting my corn, because I think they'd all be too cute. I'll do a little bit in there so it kind of looks like his shirt is popping out of the sides. Oops, and I see that I forgot a bit of green in here, so that's okay, because I can always go back and do a little bit here and here, and go here, and down in here, and then here, and here. And one thing I always like to say is when you're drawing, and I know from my son for sure, because he's really hard on himself when he's drawing. He wants it to be absolutely perfect. And I totally get that, because there's little changes that we want to make, or we have an idea in our head of what it should look like. But a lot of pictures, they don't quite look right until you've got all the pieces in them. And that, for me, is just encouraging you to wait and not be upset with what you're doing or be too hard on yourself. Wait until it all comes together. Because like I certainly did not do a perfect job on this. I feel like I like to show you how it all comes together at the end, no matter what. So here we go. You can just kind of go in like that. And then if I want, because I see my pattern here, I should probably have blue right there. I just went over top. So he's got his nice little plaid shirt on. Everything's colored. Now you could use your marker and color the whole background if you want, but I think what I want to do is take my pastels or crayons, and I want to use them because they're a little bit easier to work with for these big spaces. So I'm gonna color in my moon with my yellow pastel. And I'm gonna try and not get it too much on my marker because I don't want it to be waxy on top. I want that to all kind of pop out. So I'm just going to color around here. And this is a big coloring project. This one, when we use our paints in the background, they're a little bit easier to cover those big spaces, but I wanted to show you a project that you could just use a normal piece of paper with and still have high impact. And to also show you that you can mix more than just pastel with watercolor. You can mix it with whatever you want. You can use all your drawing and coloring materials together. And so this is just a way to show you the markers and the pastels together, or if you wanted to use crayon. So that looks really good. And then I'm kind of imagining this at night. So I'm gonna do the same thing that I did with the little raven here. I'm going to color the night sky. So I'm gonna come around with my black pastel, which I don't use a lot of black for coloring. It's just not that forgiving, but I do want to, which is nice that we outlined our raven. I'm just gonna come all the way around and get into all those white spots. I'm gonna be careful around this hay because the marker will not resist the pastel. So if I color over top or I'm not careful in here, it will go over top. And that, I mean, that's okay, but you worked really hard coloring that carefully. So remember not to press too hard. You want it to be a lighter effect so that everything else pops out. And we're just gonna come in here and color this all in. And I'm trying to move my paper around and keep my direction, but I know that's hard with some of these bigger spaces. And once you have it all colored in, we can go over top and do some more direction. It's a little bit easier just to go like this so we don't go over top of him and then fill it in like this. And that's okay too. And then if you wanted, you could just go over top and kind of even that out. If you went up and down there, like I did. Get that little corner, if you get right in there, then that just makes it look like that moon is really shining. And come over here and do a little bit of that so that I can just run into the black instead of running into my marker. And we're just about done. Come all the way, here we go. We've got our Scarecrow and Raven picture. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and I will see you next time.